Hello guys, this is Prashant. I welcome you all to my channel. In last video, we have discussed the serological tests very properly. In last, I have told that in secondary binding tests there are four tests: precipitation test, agglutination test, neutralization test, and complement fixation test. So today I'm going to discuss precipitation test or precipitation reaction. So first of all, let's take the definition. When an soluble antigen reacts with its antibody in the presence of optimal temperature, pH, electrolyte, it leads to formation of antigen and antibody complex. बेसिकली केमिस्ट्री में तो हम लोग पढ़ते ही हैं प्रेसिपिटेशन, तो उसमें क्या होता है कि किसी भी सॉल्यूशन में अगर दो उसके रिएक्टेंट है वो सॉल्युबल फॉर्म में होते हैं, बिफोर दे आर सॉल्युबल फॉर्म, बट व्हेन दे रिएक्ट दे बिकम इनसॉल्युबल. तो ऐसा कोई रिएक्शन अगर होता है हम कहते हैं भाई प्रेसिपिटेशन हुआ. So in the same way, in the serology, the reactants are antigen and antibody. Before the reaction, they are in soluble form, and if after the reaction they become insoluble, the reaction is known as precipitation. Simple. And how we come to know that precipitation had occurred? After precipitation, the antigen and antibody are many millions of molecules of antigen and antibody binds together, and they form a lattice connecting each other. So this is very properly insoluble and properly visible from outside, so we can see the change. Now talking about the conditions for precipitation, so there are conditions, two very important conditions. First one is formation of antigen antibody lattice is only when the antigen as well as antibody are multivalent. Means like antibody, it should bind with more than one antigen. So monovalent antibody can't give the precipitation test, and same for the antigen. Antigen should also have many epitopes so that it can bind with the many antigen and a lattice can be formed. And the second and very important condition for the precipitation is that the concentration of antigen and antibody should be in appropriate concentration. So if they are not, what will happen? We are going to discuss it with the graph. So you can see here the graph is between antigen added and antibody in the precipitate. So antibody is constant and we are adding antigen. So if the antigen is less, so you can see the precipitation is not that less, fewer antigen and more antibodies are there, so lattice is not formed. But you can see in the zone of equivalence where the number of antigen and antibody are nearly equal, so a lattice is formed. So a clear cut precipitation can be seen in this zone. Precipitation after this zone is also when antigen is very much can't be seen. So you can see in the figure that here wait. So we are here. Okay. So in the zone of equivalence, you can see the only precipitation takes place. There two phenomena are there. If the concentration of antigen is less, so the precipitation is not there. This phenomenon is known as pro-zone phenomena. Since it's before the zone of equivalence, we call it a pro-zone phenomenon. And same for the after, when the antigen concentration is more than the antibody, this is known as post-zone phenomena. So any exam it has been asked what are the pro-zone and post-zone phenomena. You can remember from here. Next thing is precipitation reaction in liquid medium. Now the precipitation reaction is there, and it can takes place in a liquid media like in a test tube. There are two liquids, in one there is antigen, in other there is antibody. They react, they form a precipitate, so it's easy in that medium. But in advanced technique we use agarose gel. We embed the antibody in the agarose gel and we see the precipitation inside the gel. So what are advantages of that technique? I will be talking later in this video. First of all, what is liquid medium, precipitation in liquid medium? So in this we have very two important tests. First one is ring test. In ring test, a narrow tube is taken, antigen solution is layered over the antiserum. So down bottom there is antiserum, upper there is antigen, and now the antigen will move and there will be the precipitation and it will in form of a ring at the junction of two liquids. So most important example of the ring test is Ascoli's thermoprecipitation test. In Ascoli's test, it is used for the anthrax, because in anthrax we can't do the PM of the carcass, so we have to be very sure before PM that animal is not dead due to anthrax. So we use the Ascoli's test. So it's very important test. And folliculation, like in the same, if the reaction between antigen and antibody is there in a liquid media and the ring is not formed, here a flocculus, you can say sedimentation doesn't occur, the precipitate remains suspended as a follicles. So this kind of reaction known as folliculation test. So these were the things in the precipitation reaction. Now gel precipitation and or immunodiffusion, that's very important. In this, incorporation of 1% soft gel in the precipitation reaction has many advantages over the liquid medium. What are the advantages? First one, it forms a clear visible bands. So a clear visual bands can be seen. So it's very important because flocculation is very diffused. So it many times can't be visible also, and clear cut band is very visible. So it's a advantage over the liquid medium. And the second advantage is different antigens mixtures with different antibody can form different layers. So in one test only we can test for many antibodies. So that's the advantage of using gel. Now principle of immunodiffusion. First one, if in a diffusion antigen only moves, okay, antigen moves, and if antigen is only moves, this kind of diffusion is known as single diffusion. But if both are moving, antigen as well as antibodies both are moving in a gel, then this kind of diffusion is known as double diffusion. Okay. What is the second principle? Second principle is that if the motion of the antigen, antibody, anything is in one direction, then it's known as 1D, one dimensional diffusion. And if it's in a plane, if it like in a petri dish or in a plate, the motion is in a plane in both in x and y direction, so it's a two-dimensional. So now we are going to discuss type of immunodiffusion. So there are single diffusion in one dimension, double diffusion in one dimension, single diffusion in two dimension, which we call as radial immunodiffusion, and double diffusion in two dimension. We will discuss it one by one. First one is single diffusion in one dimension. So as the name indicates, single diffusion means only antigen is moving. So you can see antigen, the bluish one, is here. Now it's moving downward. So it's moving in a single direction. So it's one dimensional and only antigen is moving. So it's a single diffusion. So it's an example of single diffusion in one direction. And you can see the antibodies embedded in the agarose. And now antigen moves and it forms a precipitation band over here. You can see. Now for the double diffusion in one direction, you can see double diffusion means both are moving. So you can see the arrows here. Antibody is also moving from upside to down. Antigen is also moving. So we have discussed that both are moving. So we will call it as double diffusion in one dimension. Now this figure indicates a radial immunodiffusion. In this we cut a well inside. You can see here is a well, and in this well we put antigen, and whole thing grows around this well, it is embedded with antibody. Now since it's a single diffusion, so only antigen is moving. So antigen moves in two dimensional in whole area. So you can see it's a single diffusion in two dimension. Single diffusion because only antigen is moving, and two dimensional because it's a area, it's x and y axis both. So when it's moving in all the directions, so there will be a ring formation across this well. So this reaction also known as radial immunodiffusion, and the precipitation ring is formed, you can see in the figure very well. Next thing and the last one is the double diffusion in two dimension. See, antigen is antibody is put in the central well. Now and different antigens are put nearby this central well. Since it's a double diffusion, so both antigen and antibodies are moving. They are in the and nothing is there in the agarose. Agarose is here a simple one. So both are moving, and since both are moving, they will form a line. You can see in the first case there is a line because it's a band of precipitation. But in double diffusion in two dimension, the lines, since many antigen and many antigen antibodies are used, so there are different lines and they have different meanings. So there are three types of line. First of all, when the fusion of lines takes place, in the first case you can see that the line have fused. If the line has fused, it means that antigen 1 and antigen 2 are the same because the line have fused. Okay. Now if the line has crossed each other, in this case like line both the band has crossed each other, you can see, so it means they are completely different. Both antigen 1 and antigen 3, they are completely different. Now if two lines not crossed, not are single, it is in spur form, it means that both antigen are partially identical. It's happened sometimes that there is both antigens are not the same, exactly same, they have some difference but they have some similarity also. So spur formation is there in that case. So basically there are three. If the two identical antigens are there, we use for the serotyping. Different types of antigens are there, so if they are completely same, so it's same serotype, and if they are different, so here these things are used. And if you can see in the second case where antigen 1 and antigen 3 are there, they are completely different. So the band, they just intersect each other, they don't have to do anything with each other. That shows that they are completely different. And if they are partially identified, spur formation is there. So guys, I think that's all for today. In next video we are going to discuss agglutination. Hope you liked it. Thank you.